Sons of the Forest is the highly anticipated follow-up to Endnight Games' breakout 2014 survival horror hit, transplanting players into beautiful, dense forestry and forcing them to gather resources, build bases, and use their wits to survive the hordes of hostile mutants was a winning formula Endnight looked to be replicating for this upcoming sequel. At the outset, Sons of the Forest looks like more of the same: beautiful woodland, base building, mutant enemies, etc. However, Endnight Games have refined almost every aspect of the forest. Sons of the Forest will feature more in-depth building and crafting mechanics, plus new, more complex enemies. Sons of the Forest's map is 4 times bigger. Perhaps contributing to Sons of the Forest's numerous delays is Endnight Games' overreaching ambition for the sequel, demonstrated none more so than in its staggering map size. Reportedly 4 times the size of its predecessor, Sons of the Forest's open world features familiar climes of dense vegetation and rocky beachheads, and will be 100% explorable from the off, reflecting the vast scope Endnight is putting into this sequel. Launching with co-op capability. Unlike the Forest, this upcoming sequel will launch with co-op capability already available instead of being added later. Scanning and scavenging the game's vast island in teams will add an extra dimension, as you all come to rely on each other for survival. After all, sticking together is key to staying alive in this beautiful, hostile world. Only 4-player co-op confirmed. So, currently, Endnight Games have confirmed cooperative multiplayer mode will only be available for up to 4-player at launch. There's no word yet on whether Sons of the Forest will feature 8-player co-op like its predecessor later down the line. Multiplayer mode in the Forest was a big hit, with up to 8 players fighting for survival in a single session. Here's hoping the capability for more than 4 players is introduced in Sons of the Forest. Sons of the Forest will feature an AI companion. For those who won't be diving into Sons of the Forest with friends, there is the opportunity to play with an AI companion, who will tag along to help with the less glamorous tasks associated with base building. Named Kelvin, this AI companion is said to be an elite soldier who suffered severe head trauma. As such, he can't speak, but will happily take commands from the player, who can instruct him to carry out repetitive busy work, such as chopping down trees and gathering logs. New AI system. Another headline innovation for Sons of the Forest is its much improved AI system for friends and enemies. Thanks to a new tool dubbed by Endnight as Veil, AI in Sons of the Forest will be much more reactive to player actions, with NPCs and enemy factions alike able to display complex behaviors, from showing fear, anger, or frustration, and their ability for those emotions to affect decision-making, right the way through to enemies being able to launch sabotage missions and coordinated attacks on the player's base. New enemy and cannibal types. Alongside improvements to AI, Sons of the Forest comes stuffed with a raft of hostile new enemies, including, of course, more cannibals, most of whom will stop at nothing to eat the player. Regular cannibals are spread throughout the game's vast island environment. Glimpses in the game's reveal footage shows a regular cannibal retreating at the sight of the player holding up the skull of its slain brethren. But there are cannibals unique to the environment in which they reside too, such as cave-dwelling cannibals. Allegedly, the most hostile cannibals in the sequel will be the masked cannibals, who will show brutality not only to the player, but other cannibals too. New mutant types. Sons of the Forest also comes with upgraded mutant enemies too. We're treated to sights of conjoined mutants, stretched-mouthed mutants, and blob-like mutants in the game's trailer footage. There's also the sight of the tri-legged mutant from the first game, a twist which Endnight describe as a mutant that's neither hostile nor friendly, but they can be scared away or manipulated into sticking around for unique interactions. Dynamic seasons. Enhancing immersion in Sons of the Forest's environment is its dynamic weather system with changeable seasons. In a survival-centric video game, changing weather can have potentially drastic effects on whether the player lives or dies. Snowy winters could make sourcing food via hunting a drag, for instance. Players will need to make the most of the fertile summer months, as once reliable food sources dry up, they'll need to stockpile, running the risk of enemies sneaking into camp to steal vital food supplies. Overhauled building mechanics. Base building is still going to be the core focus in Sons of the Forest, and for this sequel, the building mechanics have received a significant overhaul. Gone is the ghosted outline of a structure ready for placement, and instead, a much more organic, creative process. Building blocks can be placed wherever the eye sees fit, with the player having more say on intricate details. For example, players will be able to carve out windows themselves or sharpening pointed fences. New digging mechanic. During an announcement trailer for Sons of the Forest, a shovel can be seen mounted to the wall of a helicopter. Since that trailer's reveal, Endnight Games have confirmed shovels and thus digging will play a part in Sons of the Forest. Unlike its predecessor, which didn't feature any diggable ground at all, Sons of the Forest will give players the opportunity to dig for cool and interesting stuff. From buried resources to hidden bunkers, the shovel will play an important part. It's also possible digging will expand a player's building capability, benefit certain traps, or even bury bodies. New crafting mechanic. Crafting has received an overhaul for Sons of the Forest 2, most notably in the new 3D printer. The implications for such a sophisticated piece of technology are far-reaching, from printing elaborate items and customized gear from resources scavenged across the island. There's already evidence of the 3D printer being put to good use in the game's trailer, with the printer crafting a replica cannibal mask that can be used to infiltrate a cannibal stronghold. More guns. Weaponry in the forest comprised mostly of melee items, although spears, bows, and a handful of projectiles also featured. Combat in Sons of the Forest is said to center mostly on melee, but for the sequel, guns will feature a lot more. Guns such as pistols, rifles, and shotguns. Of course, with this being survival horror, ammo will be scarce, so it'll be up to the player whether bullets should be used only in life or death situations. Huge graphical improvement. What is immediately apparent with Sons of the Forest is the graphical update. Now, The Forest was a good-looking game anyway, despite a lackluster attention to detail, but the sequel blows its predecessor's looks out of the water. Endnight Games have created a much more intricately detailed world, rivaling AAA titles. Sanity system dropped. The Forest featured a sanity system, whereby certain actions raised or lowered the player's sanity. Eating fresh organic food, chilling whilst listening to music, or sleeping raised sanity, whilst chopping limbs lowered it. The system wasn't deeply entrenched in the Forest's gameplay loop though. Indeed, the only discernible effect was on the ability to build effigies. Endnight Games clearly had plans for sanity to have direct consequences on gameplay at some stage, but alas, it has been dropped for the sequel, as they've confirmed they couldn't find a satisfying way to integrate it into the game's survival horror gameplay. Launching as a PC exclusive. The Forest is currently available to play on PC and PlayStation. Whether Sons of the Forest makes it onto consoles is still in question. For right now, the game will launch to PC only. Endnight Games are showing plenty of ambition with this sequel, so it seems reasonable to think it'll land on consoles at some point. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.